everybody. It's Dr. Juanita Mercer here with 8 Days to Unstuck. I hope that you're all having a fantastic Tuesday. Um, what an awesome day it is to be alive. I'm just going to take a minute to make sure my notifications are coming in, that we're all set to go before getting started. All right, notifications are coming in. Looks good. Looks good. So it's not quite 12 yet, so I'll wait till the clock strikes 12 and then we'll get going. So in the meantime, if you're joining me for 8 Days to Unstuck, go ahead, share it, like it, tag some people. Um, and I'm so excited about this. I truly am. And I say this every time, but it's so true because I see the importance of taking time to be intentional about every step. And I know that sometimes we think, oh, it really doesn't take all of that. It takes too much time to do all this. You're given great tools, but who really wants to go through all of this? Okay, go ahead. Right? It's like so often we underestimate the importance of taking our time and really thinking things through and praying about things, seeking wisdom about things, and we can save ourselves so much time, energy, and resources by just thinking things through, to just not be in a rush. I know that sometimes we've always feel like time is of the essence, and it truly is. Trust me, it seems like time is speeding up quicker than ever. But I cannot stress enough how important it is to take the time to write things out, to really consider these matters so you can see where you're stuck. Sometimes you just know you're stuck, you just don't know where. And the reason you don't know where is because you have not taken the time to create a map, right? It's like, knowing you're wanting to go to Alabama, but because you haven't looked at a map, because you can't visually see the way you're going, you're headed somewhere, but you have no idea where you're stuck. If you're stranded, right? How can you tell someone where you are if you have no idea within how many hours where you're supposed to be? Right? So it's important to be able to stop and consider all of this to know exactly where you're stuck so that you can call for help and get the help that you need in certain areas of your project or initiative. Okay. So I said all that to give some people some time to jump in if they want, but also because it's important. Because this is so important to take the time to consider all these matters so that we can get unstuck and get done. Because you know what? Someone needs what you're stuck on. That's right. Someone needs it. That's someone's answered prayer, but you won't get unstuck. And so we have to get unstuck and get done. So right now, engage with me, okay? Like, share, comment, tag people who you know can benefit from this, react. Let me know that you like it, that you don't. Doesn't matter either way, because I'm going to keep sharing information and helping people as much as I can. So, um, just to do a quick recap, day one, we talked about purpose, okay, and making sure that your project or initiative is in line with your purpose. Your personal purpose, your organizational purpose, your familial purpose, the purpose of a function or thing or a role, right? Number day two, we talked about smarty goals, not just smart goals. No, smarty goals, because that why means that it's yours, not someone else's goal, not just your organization's goal, but it's something that you have embraced. Okay. And then day three, we talked about the importance of establishing both long and short term budgets, as well as an operating budget and a project budget. Okay. And how to do that. Day four, we talked about all different types of resources, human, capital, natural, and technical resources that you need to consider to see what you need and how you're going to source it. And then day 5, we talked about the importance of having a communication plan. And I kind of went through steps on how to create a um, communication plan, but also emphasized the importance of your nonverbal communication plan, because we learned that 93% of of effective communication is nonverbal. So, yes, whereas it's important to have a plan for your verbal communication, what's more important is that your nonverbal cues, right? What people see from you, what they hear from you, what they observe, how they feel about what you're doing, and all of that is even more important. So, you have to have a plan for that as well. And so, today, you're joining me for day 6. Day 6, and this is so cool, I'm loving it, talking about influences, okay? Because let's be real, sometimes you're stuck because you're dealing with things that are really beyond your control, right? Things happening around you in the environment, right? Outside of your organization, outside of you. But does that mean you just kinda hang back and just let things happen? No, 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 right? We have to have a plan for that as well, to not just be reactive, but proactive in how we deal with outside opportunities and threats, okay? So let's start with some words of wisdom. Proverbs 27:23 says, "Know well the condition of your flocks and give attention to your herds." You see that? Meaning, know what's going on with them, right? Know what's going on with your employees. Know what's going on with your stakeholders, right? Also, hey, you might want to take a look next door and see what's going on with their flocks and herds, because the same problem could be headed to you, right? Give attention to it. Don't just let it happen, but take, proactive measures to fix the problem, to move your mountains, right? We have to be mountain movers. And so those are certainly words of wisdom. So we have to know well the condition of our environment, the condition of the people that we're walking with, that we're serving, right? We have to analyze these things. We have to research these things. We have to gain knowledge about these things so that we know how to handle them. One of the ways we do that is by several different analyses that you can do. But for this type of understanding, there's two that I'm going to present to you, and that is the pestle or pastel, is depending on how you arrange the L and E at the end. So I'm just going to call it the pestle analysis, okay? Which is an acronym PESTLE. Okay. And then also SWOT. I think most of us are familiar with SWOT, even from, high school business courses or college courses. Okay. Um, and so both of these are business analysis tools that could also be used in a personal level as well. Okay. Um, but we're going to start with the pestle. And here, the P stands for political, meaning take an assessment, get to understand, what is the government laws? What is this government doing? How does that play a role in your project or initiative? Trade, what's going on with trade, foreign policy, your taxes, the stability of the government, right? Global influence as well. You have to pay attention to these things. E, economical, right? What's going on with the economy? What's going on with the currency? What's the currency rate, right? Different types of rates, interest rates, mortgage rates, anything that would affect what you're doing, loan rates, even, right? Inflation, income, right? What's going on with people's income? Is it staying the same? Is it good for the cost of living, which we know in most cases is not, right? But it's still something to just be aware of. How are people handling their money? How are they managing their money? Social, okay, issues. Let's look at culture, right? What's going on with culture? Maybe in a particular culture as well, pertaining to your project or initiative. What about public safety and health? What's going on with the different lifestyles that people are exhibiting, right? And are there certain lifestyles that will be attractive to your project or initiative or your product, right? So, what does that look like? What does that encompass? What about demographic distributions? What about the different ages in our society? What's going on with the elderly? How many more elderly are we going to have as, you know, unlike, 50, 60, 100 years ago? And what are the implications of that? What are the implications for, having many more, let's see, let's say teenagers or certain in a certain area or demographic or region that you're working with, right? So again, it's just being aware of what's going on socially. Technologically, what about research and development? Innovation, right? What's going on with that? What's new? What's fresh? What's happening? What type of advancements are coming out? What are people working on? What do you suspect is going to be happening in the next 5, 10, 15 years? How do you respond to that, right? Also consider legal issues, laws, right? What laws pertain to your project or initiative that you need to be aware of? What about compliances, right? Are you in compliance? Have you assessed whether you're in compliance? Have you evaluated it? What type of compliance regulations are you going to be accountable for, right? Rights of people, just like what happened with the overturning of Roe versus Wade. How does that affect the services that you do? How does that affect your current projects, your upcoming projects? Ownership. And when I say ownership, who has the right to what? Who owns what, right? We know that the law is mostly pertaining to property, so ownership and understanding who has rights to what, who owns what is really important because you certainly don't want to get into different issues with that. And then E, environmental considerations such as climate, right? Weather, environmental protections. You need to know these things, especially if you're having to source resources that are natural, right? What type of regulations or laws protect it? So, again, you need to be considering these different components as to what's happening. What are the opportunities? What are the threats? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. And how does that affect what you're currently trying to do? Okay. Now, when it comes to these outside threats and opportunities here, because for every threat, there's an opportunity. We have to have that mindset that not all is lost simply because there's threats. For every threat, y'all, there's an opportunity. Okay, we just have to find it. We just have to be aware of it. So, here are the top 10 threats to organizations in 2022. Okay, and I dare say if you're an individual watching this for yourself and things that you're working on personally, it affects you too. It really does in some shape or form. Political instability, absolutely. That is a major threat to organizations, right? From one day to the next, so much is changing. Wars, laws, constitutional laws, how countries interact with one another, right? Disputes, cold wars, just so much going on. Cyber attacks and ransomware, this is a biggie, right? If you're not an organization, you're probably not aware of this, but organizations are getting cyber attacked and dealing with ransomware like every single day. It's not a matter of if, it's when it happens. And so, how does that affect you? It affects you as an individual because if your data is breached, that can cause issues with identity theft, right? But then also with ransomware, a lot of these times, if they refuse to pay the ransom, to people who literally cannot be tracked, it's a mess. Um, then you're talking about files, data, history that is being destroyed. And if organizations have not established a plan for that, then your accounts, your history could be wiped out. And that is a kind of a scary thought, but it's a reality. And so it not only affects organizations and how they're able to serve their clients and customers, but it also affects you as well. Okay. The great resignation. You everywhere I go, people are short staffed, and it affects even the quality of service I get, right? People have left the workforce and doing their own thing. Um, or they're just, maybe not working. Who knows? But it is a real thing and it is a real problem to not be able to hire people or, people have left. Then you have the issue of the lack of qualified talent. Okay. So that even when people do apply from a pool of hundreds of applications, you're still hard pressed to find someone who's qualified to do the job with at least your expectations anyway. Okay. And I dare say that organizations do need to reassess their hiring practices because of this threat. There's an opportunity here, okay, to reassess what exactly do you need someone to come in with and what are you willing to help to do to help that person develop and get ready for the role that they're in. Okay, so there is an opportunity here for the organizations to reevaluate some things. Okay, not everyone is unqualified. They just not may not have the actual all the qualifications or maybe all the experience that you're looking for. How are you willing to have them? Right? Because you might have a really driven, um, highly committed, highly intelligent, very loyal person right in front of you. But because this, or that on their resume doesn't meet your standards, then you're missing out. And so you organizations really do need to get better at putting in the time and investment into people to help get them up to par. Pandemic, of course, we know millions have died, right? That has also influenced the workforce, but also people still recovering from long COVID, all the health issues and mental illness that has come out of, the lockdowns, and this is still happening. The pandemic is not over. It is not over. We're simply learning how to navigate it and work in it and live with the pandemic. But it is not over. And so organizations still have to have active thought and consideration to how do they navigate this. Um, and again, greater opportunity here to show people that you care about their health and well-being and their safety, and to really just think about protocols that you can put in place that still help people feel safe being in your environment. Shipping and manufacturing disruptions. Oh my gosh. You cannot count on anything being in stock. You just can't. It is such a mess. But, you know, maybe this is a time you create new products or offerings with things that are readily available. You know, um, it's a tough spot to be in. It really is. But we do have to think about how do we make the best of these situations. Burnout, it's real. People are tired. People are over it. So even people who are working in organizations or, you're bringing on as a consultant or you're contracting, guess what? They don't care about doing excellent work anymore. They don't care about meeting standards of being ethical. They just don't care. They're completely demotivated. And that's a problem. Okay. Especially within in the mix of all these other issues that are going on. So you have to be aware of that. Climate change, we know, natural disasters, the weather, destroying communities, destroying farms, destroying factories. It's real, it's happening, right? Inflation, we know, we all feel it. Rising costs can't keep up. Then you're passing that burden on to your clients, and then they're stressed because their income is not increasing. But it's just this awful, um, you know, chain effect. And then social unrest. Every time you turn around, these people are at these people. These people don't understand these people. It's them against them. It's them against they, right? Um, it's a lot. It's a lot. And then you bring that into the workplace and you can't ignore it because we're human beings. But it's a lot for organizations to deal with. But let me tell you something. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. You have to believe and have faith that the vision that God is giving you, none of these things will stop you. It's just understanding what your role and is and how you navigate these issues. But it's not to stop you. It's not to hinder you. It's not to stifle you, to impair you. Oh no. It's to help get you in position to meet the need that is available, that there's space for you to feel. And it's just understanding how to do that. But, in response to all of this, the number one organizational weakness, and I would dare say personal weakness as well, is the unwillingness to change. It is. That is the number one weakness. If you don't respond to these threats, you will die. Your organization will die, right? And you may even die physically because let's be honest, anything that is not changing is what? Dying. If your body doesn't respond to a virus that enters it and begins to create more white blood cells and try to attack that thing, you'll die, right? If we don't respond to what's happening around us, we die. And that is the number one weakness of organizations and people, truly, is our unwillingness to change. But if you're willing to change, you're going to be all right. So, the important thing now is to think about what is happening to really put that in perspective. Okay. And we can use the SWOT analysis to do that, to look at your internal strengths and weaknesses and your external opportunities and threats. Okay. So, internal strengths. What are you as an organization or person doing well? What sets you apart? What makes you stand out? What are your good qualities? And then consider your weaknesses. Where do you need to improve? What do others do better than you? Yes, believe it or not, people do better, can do things better than you, right? None of us are all that. Like, we need each other. And we have to be able to acknowledge our weaknesses and play in areas that we need to grow in. Then we have opportunities. What are those external opportunities that exist? What are your goals? What are your goals? What demands are shifting and how can it be improved? So for every threat, I think I've covered that pretty well. So I'm not going to go into those threats necessarily. Um, but for every threat, external threat, like I said, there's an opportunity. What is it? So now, once we've kind of developed this idea and know more about, okay, what are our strengths, what are our opportunities, weaknesses, and threats, then let's put those together and let's pray about some solutions. Let's identify the answers, the next steps that we can do to navigate what seems wrong, right? And make it right. So we do that by looking at strengths and threats. Okay, what is an internal strength you have and an outside threat? And what solution can you come up to with that? Okay, what is an opportunity that exists? Okay, and threats. So you're saying, okay, I know that this is a threat, but this is also another opportunity that's happening to kind of subside that, right? For example, inclement weather. You never know what's going to happen with the weather, right? So much going on. Well, an opportunity is greater access to networks like Zoom, doing online things. And so, you can say, gosh, yeah, inclement weather is a threat, but hey, why don't we do this online? And then now that's not even an issue, right? And then we can even create a recording so that if there's a situation where the power goes out or something like that, then hey, that's not an issue. People will still have the information that they need, and we can create a really unique and engaging experience without feeling the threat of inclement weather, right? Let's see. Strengths and weaknesses. Put them together. What's something that can come up? I have a strength, right? But my partner has a weakness. Ooh, I can train them and help develop their weakness. Boom. Fixed. Let's move on. Right? Right? Um, or rather than, move them out of a role because they have one weakness, how about we just exchange the role and I'll be responsible for this. And then that way you're responsible more so for something that's my weakness. And we just switch those things around, right? And then we can look at opportunities and weaknesses. For example, if there's all kind of great certifications out there that you can get now, but a weakness might be the fact that you're not really informed in a certain area, okay, and you want to, work on that and increase that, then awesome. Sign up for that course. Done. Right? It's no longer a weakness anymore because you've taken advantage of an opportunity that exists for you to take a course. Okay, so this is how taking the time to identify the threats, the opportunities, the strengths and weaknesses that you can come up with a solution and navigate this so that you can get going. So I just want to leave this with you. Proverbs 16:3, another word of wisdom. Lastly, do everything for the Lord. Commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. Okay? Don't let anything, hear me, do not let anything deter you from moving forward. Okay? Rebuke those obstacles. Turn every problem into an opportunity to do something great, to meet a need. Okay? Show people that you can move mountains with your faith. And that is the important thing to take away from this, that even with all the things that are going on, all the threats, all the weaknesses that we continue to have and need to work on and strengthen, that's not a reason to stop. That's not a reason to be stuck. Get unstuck and get done. Okay. So let me know what your thoughts are. How did this help you? Are there any other things that you would add to this? Let me know. Comment below. And I just say, go figure it out. Come up with those great solutions and get going. Okay. Today was day 6. Tomorrow is day 7. And we're going to be talking about having the right mindset, which is so important. Okay. Because of all these matters, maybe it's just your mindset that needs to change or be renewed. Okay. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So, you all have a wonderful rest of the day, a blessed Tuesday. Follow me on all social media at Dr. Juanita Mercer. Okay. Check out all the other videos. If you haven't been up to speed on the 8 days to Unstuck, you can go on my Instagram or my Facebook, my LinkedIn, let's see, YouTube, and find these videos, okay? So that you can get caught up and get unstuck and get done, okay? So I love you all. And remember, in everything you do and with everything you have, love God and love people. Goodbye.